Hi. The internet is a tricky place. If you have something worth sharing, you would need to put an effort and try to be creative to reach out to people. Our attention span is so low, no one really cares about what you have to say unless in 5 seconds you prove to them that you're not wasting their time. And I'm not. Actually, I'm trying to share with you what I call an insight, and that insight is about how to use time well. So I'm not wasting your time. And with that in mind, welcome to my blog. And if your goal is not to stay in a time wasting mentality, then this is the right place. We think of time as something fixed, of a fixed duration. The goal is always to get more done in X amount of time. And all gurus, methods, systems, routines, they teach you how to do it well, how to organize yourself and get more done in fixed amount of time. What I have to share, there is no routine or discipline or anything like that to follow. And it takes no time to implement. You would just need to see the insight. And once you see it, there is no way to unsee it. And I wouldn't waste your time and my effort if I didn't believe that by just seeing this insight, I don't want to give you promises, things like seeing this insight, you will become more productive and so on. Because the promise would form an expectation. And I know we are seeking for expectations. That's how we are built. That's how we are conditioned. All systems, all religions, all ideologies, all methods work that way. They tell you, you do this and you'll get this and this in return. And if you don't, then there is something you're going to lose. But it's not the same here. All I have to offer you is an insight. And all I can promise is that it's free now and it's going to be forever, because sharing this is what I enjoy. And if you are interested to continue hearing about this, on the left side, you can interact with me. So welcome back. I appreciate that you continue your interest in what I have to share. And you wanted me to talk more about the insight. And in a previous video, I actually shared the idea. But if I were to boil it down to one sentence, this is how it would sound. And think about it. Time is a resource. It's not a fixed variable. But we see it as a fixed variable. I know I need to explain this, and I can take this idea and expand it forever. And that's what I'm going to be doing in these interactions and on my blog. You see, this insight is an inward experience. It's not describable because it's an insight. Let me give you an example. We all had, like, you see a rabbit shape in the sky, in the clouds, actually. And so then, no matter how much effort you spend with your friend describing the big ears and the nose and the stuff that the rabbit that you see has, it's only when your friend sees it, when you get in sync, it's like you both see the same thing, but you wouldn't be actually be able to really describe it, but you both know that you see the same thing. The same kind of way I will be trying to describe this insight over my blog and in the videos ahead. It's going to be like me pointing fingers to this insight, and it's going to be up to you to see it. But once you see it, there is no way to unsee it. So time is a resource. It's not a variable. And I'm going to talk about it if you care. Just choose from the left again. And we continue. It's great to see you again. And since you are interested more about the insight, let me dig into it a little bit more. And in order to do that, let me share with you an observation. I believe that time management gurus got something wrong. I tried many pieces of advices and techniques on how to be more productive and manage time and get more goals accomplished. And I can say with more or less certainty that they don't work. They help a lot, but are incomplete. And in some cases, I think they're even limiting. Well, I asked myself, why? Why those methods don't work? And the reason is the same, why no self-improvement method can work ever. When someone from external world teaches you about the inner world, can it work? Things don't work the same way inwardly for everyone. My childhood, adulthood sequences were completely different than yours. And something that is psychologically easy and obvious to me can be utterly imperceptible to another. And I'm sure those gurus who teach you how to deal with internal stuff are honest and derive it from their own experience. And they share, and that's great. But they share what has worked for them, not what is going to work for you. And rest of us, regular people who are not gurus, we look up to gurus. We want someone else to solve our problems, to show us the ultimate way. And we want something that works. And I'm going to continue talking about what's going to work for you, not for me, or not for any other guru. But that's in the next video of your choice. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Let me just sum up what I was saying. I was bringing arguments about why methods and routines that promise to make you more productive are not going to work. And let me repeat the reason. I was arguing that inward processes cannot be copied from one person to another. What works for one is complete mess for someone else. So instead of copying, I suggest we need to understand, and understand deeply. And if we really want to be more productive, let's think about it. What else can we do other than to understand? Well, we can search the internet for tips and techniques, and we can read books about what others have found out that worked for them. But we're never going to see the rabbit in the clouds. Remember the analogy? So let me explain it again, because the concept of rabbit in the clouds is essential. If I notice good enough shape in the clouds, I might come to you and describe it 100 times. But when you look at it and see the same thing I see, then we see the same thing. That's it. That's an idea about seeing the same rabbit in the cloud. And I'm going to return to this metaphor over and over. Metaphor not about the rabbit, don't get me wrong, but about the fact that this rabbit represents this idea, this metaphor represents how it's only possible to see together. And describing is never the same. And so, as I expand my explanation of what I mean by insight, you have to be patient. I'm trying to point out an idea like one would point out a shape in the sky, and you have to see it yourself. And that's how timewellused.com is different from all other approaches to time management. But let's talk about it next video. So there are three possibilities. You either wanted me to talk about how timewellused.com is different from other systems, or you maybe wanted to find out something practical you can take out of this whole idea and approach. Or perhaps you wanted me to continue to explain what the insight is. Either way, so those were the three options in a previous video, but I kind of tricked you. No matter which question you asked, it would all lead to the same answer to this video. And the reason is simple. I think in order for me to explain what the insight is, I really have to explain how timewellused.com is different from other systems. And the difference is that it's not a system. Also, I realized that before I bore you with these all theoretical talks, I wanted to share something practical, something that you can apply right away and fix productivity issue. And notice how I said productivity issue instead of saying make you more productive. That's because think about the car in a drift. You have both brakes and acceleration pushed at the same time, right? Now, if you want to go faster, there are two ways: to press more acceleration or to release the brakes. And that's what timewellused.com is all about. Yes, it's practical, but it's not a method. It's not about a system or a discipline to follow. It's about seeing the hindrances that are in our mind that make us less productive and letting them go. And we could let go of these hindrances one by one, discovering them, and we're going to do that. But instead, I suggest there is an easier way. We see one big insight, and by understanding this insight, all hindrances are gone. But let's talk about in further videos, okay? So before we end this small introduction into what timewellused.com is all about, I wanted to share one more thing. Is kind of sum up and also show it from a different perspective. But you can also look around the web page. It's a blog. There are posts you can read. And if you're lazy, there are videos and interactions like this that dive into more details. But now in this video sequence, I want to end it by summing up the idea that usually time is a source of some kind of pressure on us to be successful. We see it as a fixed amount of duration. It's not even time, it's this duration that we have to achieve in this duration some stuff. Instead, what if we looked at time as a resource that we need to keep using well all the time? To maintain the joy and happiness in life. Like any other resources, one should use time as energy and to get something or to get somewhere. But compared to other resources, time is the kind of energy which is spent even if you don't choose so. I mean, even if you sleep, even if you don't use it well, it's still being used. You can use mileage you get out of your gas to drive your car to where you want, but also you can do it when you want. And if you want, you can save it for tomorrow. But time is different. Time is a resource, even if it's different, but it's still a resource. And actually, this is the insight. Now, the tricky part is that mind thinks it's too simple and might reject this idea. So what if I know this? Maybe there is something that happens after knowing this. Perhaps not, but we're going to find out. Check the rest of the blog and welcome. Thanks for visiting this interaction, and hopefully you were interested to. I don't know how you landed on this page because there are so many routes you could have ended up here, but this is kind of a final page where I wanted to appreciate if you can leave comments. There are 3 ways you can type. You can send me a voice message, or you can actually send me a video feedback. It would look similar, like I'm talking to you. Also, please understand that this is something that I started a month ago, even if my observations and experience is much deeper, of course, but and I'm building it. And your suggestions, if there were some moments where I was not clear, or the stuff that needs to be expanded, this is editable. So I'm going to make this interaction even more interesting and more with more depth and more choices as the time goes. But for now, it is as it is. And meanwhile, you can also look around the blog. I suggest that you do this. There are more interactions like this one. They're expanding into other topics and some interesting stuff to read. And the blog is also in development. There are articles coming up. You can subscribe, and I really would appreciate if you follow me on Twitter with the handle timewellused, on a Facebook and Instagram. I'm not active there too much, but because there are no followers, this is a new thing. So welcome to my world, and I hope we together learn how to use time well. And please leave your feedback. It's going to be helpful.